Modern glanced at me for the third time. "Sir, will your party be arriving soon?" "She will," I said, forcing a smile. "It's her birthday." The empty chair across from me felt heavier with every passing minute. The ring box in my pocket was starting to feel like a brick. I'd spent months saving for tonight, when the glass doors finally opened. Emma walked in 20 minutes late wearing a cropped jacket I didn't recognize. Not hers. Too big. "Men's, you're here," I said, standing. She gave me a quick kiss on the cheek and slid into her seat. Traffic. I sat down slowly. "Nice jacket." She glanced at it like she'd just noticed. "It's Liam's." I got cold. I tried to swallow the tightness in my throat. "Liam's not here. Couldn't make it," she said, flipping open the menu. "Something came up, right?" "Something," kept my tone light, though the word liar was banging around in my head. The waiter arrived. "Would you like to start with drinks?" "Champagne," Emma said before I could answer. I ordered water. We made small talk, or rather. She talked about work, about the apartment she wanted us to move into, when you finally get a stable income, about Liam's amazing networking, skills. Every time his name came up, it hit like a pebble against glass. Small but sharp. When the food came, I reached into my pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Her eyes lit up for a second, but dimmed the moment she saw what was inside. "A necklace?" she said, tilting her head. "It's white gold," I said, my voice quieter now. "I thought it would look good with your IH nice," she interrupted. "But Ethan, you need to stop spending like this. Stay humble, you know?"
Ow.
"Liam's never chasing flashy things, and look how respected he is." I laughed, though it didn't sound like me. "Right, Liam?" She smiled faintly, already scrolling through her phone. "Don't take it the wrong way. I just think you could learn a little from him." I stared at her for a long second, then looked down at my plate. The steak had gone cold. When dessert came, she excused herself to make a quick call. 10 minutes passed. Then 15. I finally stood and walked out into the parking lot. The cold night air bit at my skin. But what I saw froze me completely. Emma was leaning against Liam's car, his jacket still on her shoulders. He stood close to Close's hand on her waist. She laughed at something he said, her voice soft and warm in a way it hadn't been all evening. Then he kissed her. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. Her hands went to his chest, not to push him away, but to pull him closer. The ring box in my pocket felt like it was burning through my skin. My fingers clenched so hard my nails dug into my palm. I could have stormed over, shouted, demanded answers instead. I stepped back, letting the shadow of the building swallow me. My shoes were soundless on the pavement as I walked to the street. Behind me, their laughter carried on the wind. I kept walking. I woke up to the sound of my phone buzzing on the nightstand. Emma's name flashed on the screen. "Morning, I," answered my voice flat. "We need to talk," she said. "About last night." I sat up. "Do we?" "You're blowing it out of proportion, Ethan. Liam was just comforting me, that's all. Comforting you with his lips." I asked. She sighed as if I was the problem. "You're being overly sensitive. You always twist things into drama, right?" "I'm the dramatic one," I said, "not the woman wearing my best friend's jacket while kissing him in a parking lot." "It wasn't like that," she snapped. "We were confused. You've been distant lately, and Liam's been there for me in ways you haven't." I almost laughed. "Yeah. I saw how there he was." She went quiet for a beat. "Look, can we just meet and talk? In person?" "No, Ethan." I hung up. The silence in my apartment felt heavier than the night before. I stood, pacing. My gaze fell on the purse she'd left here last week. Her phone was inside, screen lighting up with a new message. I shouldn't. I knew I shouldn't. But my hand moved before I could stop it. I unlocked it with her birthday. Messages from Liam filled the screen. 2 weeks left until we tell him. "Can't wait for our trip. Still thinking about last night?" My grip tightened until my knuckles went white. This wasn't a moment of weakness. It was a countdown. A plan. By the time I left for work, my stomach felt hollow. At my desk, the numbers on the screen blurred. My hand stayed on the mouse, but I couldn't process a single spreadsheet. "Cole," a voice said behind me. I turned to see Mr. Warren. Hands in his pockets. "You've been staring at the same cell for 5 minutes?" Rough night, I muttered. He studied me for a moment. You're a good worker, Ethan. But good workers burn out if they let distractions eat them alive. Fine, I said quickly. You're lying, he replied, without missing a beat. I don't need details, but get your head back in the game. You've got talent. Don't waste it. I nodded. I won't. He patted my shoulder once before walking away. The rest of the day crawled. Every click of my mouse felt like dragging a stone uphill. When I got home, I dropped my bag and sat on the couch. My phone buzzed him again. I stared at her name, then deleted the contact. Liam's number followed, then his email, then hers. For a moment, I just sat there, thumb hovering. Over the final confirmation, I hit block. My chest felt not lighter exactly, but cleaner. Like I'd just scrubbed out a stain that had been spreading for years. I poured myself a glass of water and stared out the window. The city lights flickered in the distance. Somewhere out there, Emma and Liam were probably still lying to themselves. About who they were, I set the glass down, saying it out loud just once. Never again. The week after I cut them off, I buried myself in work. Days blurred into nights, my desk covered in coffee cups and half-scribbled notes. One night, my phone rang from an unknown number. I answered without thinking. Ethan, it's me, Emma's voice said. I closed my eyes. Wrong number. Don't hang up, she rushed. You're throwing away years of love. Heck, we can fix this. There's nothing to fix, I said. You broke it. You're being stubborn. I ended the call. 10 minutes later, another buzz. This time an email. The subject line, I'm sorry. Liam, I opened it. I didn't mean for it to happen. Feelings can't be controlled. I hope one day you understand. I stared at the words until the edges of my vision burned, then I hit delete. The anger didn't fade, sharpened. If I couldn't erase them from my mind, I'd at least build something they'd never touch. At lunch the next day, Mr. Warren stopped by my desk. You've been here past midnight 3 times this week. Something you want to tell me? Just working on something? He leaned on the cubicle wall. A secret project. I hesitated, then nodded. A logistics platform. Streamlining freight schedules for small businesses. I've had the idea for months, but you didn't have the fire until now, he finished. Something like that? I said. He smiled faintly. I might know someone, Isabella Reed. She invests in people who know what they want. Aren't afraid to take it? I'm listening. I'll set up a meeting, he said, walking away. Ow. Don't waste it. 2 days later, I sat in a corner booth of a quiet cafe. Laptop open, heart pounding harder than I wanted to admit. A woman in a black blazer and heels approached. She was in her mid-30s, sharp eyes scanning the room like she owned it. Ethan. Cole? She asked. Yes, Isabella. She sat across from me without ceremony. Show me what you've got. I slid the laptop toward her. Cole Trans, small business logistics, automated scheduling, route optimization. Cuts wasted fuel by numbers, she interrupted. I pulled up a chart. Projected savings, 15% in year 1-4. Clients, 30 in year 3. She tapped the table lightly. Who's your competition? Big players Flex Freight, Cargomax, but they ignore small companies. My focus is on businesses with fewer than 50 trucks. She leaned back, studying me. And why should I believe you can pull this off? Because I have nothing to lose, I said before I could think. Her lips curved slightly. That's not always a strength. It is when failure isn't an option. For a moment, she just watched me, and she closed the laptop. Your idea's solid. You've done your homework. But here's the thing. Ethan execution requires more than passion. It requires ruthlessness. Can you be ruthless? I met her gaze. If I wasn't before, I am now. She smirked. Good answer. I'll fund your first phase. But if you hesitate, I'll pull out without blinking. I won't hesitate. She stood. Then you'll hear from my office tomorrow. Welcome to the deep end. As she walked away, I realized my hands were shaking not from fear, but from the spark she'd just lit in me. For new contracts in 2 weeks, Marcus said, sliding the folder across my desk. You know that's insane growth, right? I grinned, scanning the pages. Insane is good. Means we're doing something right. Means you haven't. Slept, he replied. How many hours did you get last night? 3? Maybe 4? He shook his head. And how much coffee have you had today? Enough to run a marathon, I said, signing the last page. What's the status on the Westbrook shipment? Cleared. Trucks left at 6 this morning. Perfect. Marcus sat across from me. You ever going to slow down? Not until every small business in this city knows the name Coltrans. He gave a short laugh. Guess that's why Isabella likes you. I leaned back. She likes results, and right now we're delivering. Office door opened and Isabella stepped in, heels clicking against the floor. Delivering, yes, but I didn't invest in a corpse. You look like hell, Ethan. I'm fine, I said. You're grinding too hard. Success isn't worth it if you collapse before you enjoy it. Enjoying it comes later. Her eyes narrowed slightly, or it never comes at all. She dropped a document on my desk. A fleet expansion proposal. Review it by Friday. As she left, Marcus smirked. She's right, you know? About what? You're not doing this just to win. You're doing it to be seen winning. I didn't answer. He wasn't wrong. 3 months later, I signed the paperwork for my first luxury car, a black Aston Martin that gleamed like midnight. The salesman handed me the keys with both hands, as if passing over something sacred. Driving it through the city felt different. Heads turned. People noticed. I liked it. That same week, I signed the lease. For an upscale apartment with a view of the skyline, floor-to-ceiling windows, marble counters, space that didn't feel like survival, it felt like arrival. One Saturday morning, I stopped at the grocery store for coffee beans. I was comparing to brands when I heard footsteps slow behind me. I turned. Emma, her hair was tied back messily. Her coat looked worn, her shoes scuffed. She froze when our eyes met. Ethan, she said, voice small. Emma, she glanced at the Aston Martin key in my hand. Nice car. I just nodded.
Ice.
Looks like you're doing okay. Smile that didn't reach her eyes. Yeah. Okay. A silence stretched between us. I could have asked questions. I didn't take care, I said, turning back to the shelf. When I looked again, she was gone. The next Monday, Marcus walked into my office, holding a coffee. Heard something you might want to know about, Liam. Guy's unemployed. Lost his job 2 months ago. I raised an eyebrow. How'd you hear that? Mutual friend from high school. Said he's been asking around for work. No one's biting. I leaned back in my chair. Interesting. You almost sound happy about it, Marcus said. Didn't smile. Almost. That Friday, Isabella called me into her office. You're up 28% this quarter, she said, tapping the chart on her desk. How many startups pull that off? We're just getting started, I told her. Good, but remember, Ethan's sexes isn't revenge. Don't lose sight of the real goal. Maybe my goal's both, I said. She studied me for a long moment. Careful. That kind of thinking can rot you from the inside. I didn't reply. That night I stood in my apartment, city lights stretching out before me. I thought about the cold night in the parking lot, Emma's laugh, Liam's hand on her waist. Now, I was building something they couldn't touch. Maybe, just maybe, I wanted them to see it. Marcus dropped a printed email on my desk. This came through your public contact form. I glanced at it. The subject line read, We need to talk, Emma. I slid it back, toward him. Delete it. No reply? No interest? He shrugged. Fair enough.
No?
That afternoon, Marcus leaned. On my doorway. You're gonna like this one. Saw Liam today. I looked up from my laptop. Where? Job fair. Cheap suit. Bad tie. He was handing out resumes like they were flyers. Desperate, I asked. Beyond desperate. I leaned back. Guess karma doesn't need my help after all, Marcus smirked. Still feels good, though. 2 days later, Derek called. You'll never believe who I ran into at the gas station. Who? Emma. She didn't see me, but I heard her on the phone. Sounded like she was yelling at Liam. Something about rent and him never pulling his weight. Living the dream, said Ethan. Derek's tone shifted. Just don't let this stuff turn you into someone else. I'm fine. I'm serious. You sound different lately, Colder. Maybe cold is what works, I said, ending the call by the end of the month. Coltrans closed a contract with one of the largest suppliers in the region. Marcus walked into my office with champagne. You realize this triples our revenue? Overnight, right? He said, popping the cork. I poured a glass. It makes this impossible to ignore. Before we could toast, my phone buzzed Isabella. Congratulations, she said when I answered. You're officially a player in this industry, which is why you're coming to the Centennial Gala this weekend. A gala. Black tie, cameras, investors. You'll thank me later. Saturday night, I stepped out of the car in a tailored navy suit. Cameras flashed. Voices called. My name some I recognized, most I didn't. Inside, chandeliers dripped light over the room. Champagne flowed, laughter buzzed. Isabella introduced me to executives, board members, people whose signatures could change a company's fate. Half an hour in, I excused myself to get another drink. That's when I saw her, Emma, not in a gown, not with a glass in hand, but in a black uniform. Tray balanced on one palm. Her hair was tied back, a few strands falling loose. She moved through the crowd with practiced politeness, but when her eyes met mine, she froze. I didn't flinch. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. I gave her the smallest, most polite smile I could manage, and stepped past her without slowing. Her perfume hit me for a second before fading into the noise of the room. Marcus found me by the bar. You good? Perfect. You sure you look like you just saw a ghost? Not a ghost, I said, sipping my drink. Just the past. Marcus stuck his head into my office. You have a visitor. Not expecting anyone. You'll want to hear this.
Oh.
Or maybe you won't. He stepped aside. Emma walked in. She wore a cheap, wrinkled dress, the kind that tried to pass for classy. Her makeup was flawless, but the foundation couldn't hide the fatigue in her eyes. She stood by the door, clutching her purse like it might anchor her. Ethan, she said softly, I didn't stand. What do you want? Her lips trembled. Liam's gone. He left me. For someone else. I leaned back in my chair. Congratulations? He's consistent, at least. She took a few steps forward. I'm not here to fight. I miss what we had. I let the silence hang. She shifted her weight, twisting her fingers. Do you remember? I said finally, the night I gave you? That bracelet. The one you laughed at? Her face tensed. Ethan, you told me to stay humble. You made me feel small. You remember that? She looked down. I was stupid. I didn't see what I had. No, I said, you saw it. You just didn't want it? Her eyes glistened. I'm sorry. Thought Liam was. I thought it was love. I was wrong. Tilted my head. You think saying sorry erases everything? No, she whispered. But maybe it means something. Not to me. She blinked rapidly. You've changed. Good. Her voice cracked. I don't have anyone left. I'm scared. Ethan, I kept my tone even. That's not my problem anymore. She stared at me for a moment, as if searching for the man she remembered. I stayed still. You've moved on, she said quietly. Yes. Her shoulders sank. She nodded, turned toward the door, and left without another word. When the door closed, Isabella stepped out from the hallway. That was intense. How much did you hear? I asked. Enough to know she broke you once, and now you're enjoying twisting the knife. I shrugged. Call it balance. She walked in, shutting the door behind her. Careful. Revenge feels satisfying at first, but it's like sugar, it makes you hungrier. I'm not chasing her. She came to me. That's not the point, Isabella said. Every time you get that rush, it'll take more to feel it again. One day it won't be about her anymore. It'll be about crushing anyone who gets in your way. I smiled faintly. And you're warning me because I've seen it happen. And because I think you're capable of more than living in someone else's shadow. That night, Derek called. Marcus told me Emma showed up. Did, and I sent her home crying, he sighed. You're proud of that, aren't you? I'm not ashamed of it, Ethan. I get it. She hurt you. But you can't build your life around proving a point. I'm not. Building my life, period. Later, I met Sophia Lane for coffee. She'd been consulting for a supplier we worked with, and conversation had flowed easily the first time we spoke. You look distracted, she said, stirring her drink. An old ghost dropped by today. She smiled gently. One that still haunts you? Not anymore. It's just an echo. Good. You can't move forward if you keep turning around. Her words stuck with me longer than I expected. I stood on the balcony, the city lights flickering. In the distance, the mansion was quiet, just the soft hum of the pool filters and the faint rustle of the trees. My phone buzzed. Mr. Cole, my head of security, said. There's someone at the front gate. She says she knows you. At this hour. She's crying, looks bad, says her name is Emma. I froze for a moment, then exhaled slowly. I'll come down. The gravel crunched under my shoes as I walked to the gate. The sun had just dipped below the horizon, leaving streaks of orange fading into blue. She stood there, hair messy, makeup smudged. In her hands, a worn folder bulged with old papers. Ethan, she said, voice trembling. Please, what are you doing here? She held up the folder. These are the letters you wrote me. I kept them. Every one. I didn't know where else to go. Kept my hands in my pockets. You've got about 30 seconds to explain before I walk away. I've lost everything, she said. Liam's gone for good. The apartment's gone. My job's gone. I'm nothing now. You came here because... Her lip quivered. Because I want to start over. With you, I know I don't deserve it, but I had to try. Let the silence stretch until she shifted uncomfortably. You told me once, I said finally, to stay humble. Her eyes darted to mine. I did, I continued. I stayed humble, built everything from the ground up, and now stepped closer. Now you stay outside. She blinked rapidly, the tears spilling faster. Ethan, please. I turned away. Good night, Emma. I was halfway back to the house when she called after me. Do you hate me that much? I stopped, but didn't face her. No. Hate would mean you'd still matter that much. Her breath hitched. Then what am I to you? A lesson, I said, walking on. When I came inside, Sophia was in the kitchen, stirring a pot. You were gone a while, she said. Unexpected guest. Her brow lifted. The kind you're glad to see? The kind who's finally run out of places to go. An ex, she guessed. Double quotes, yes. She studied me for a moment, and I told her to stay outside. Sophia smiled faintly. You're colder than you look. Maybe. Or maybe I'm just done letting the past dictate my future. Later that night, Derek called. Marcus told me Emma showed up at your gate. She did, and you what? Slammed the door? Didn't even open it. He sighed. You're making a habit of this. What? Of kicking people. When they're already down, she kicked me first. I said, yeah, I know. Just don't let it turn you into someone you don't recognize. I hung up without answering. When I finally went to bed, I thought of the look in her eyes when I turned away. Not satisfaction, not guilt, just finality, and it felt exactly right. The air was still when Derek called. You hear about Emma? He asked. No, she's moved. Another city, got some basic job at a cafe. Guess she's keeping her head down, and Liam vanished. No one's seen him in months. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the sunlight filtering through the window. All right, that's it? No celebration speech? No. Derek hesitated. You're not even a little happy. I'm done, I said. That's all. That evening, Sophia and I walked through the garden. The gravel path wound between blooming white roses and trimmed hedges. The sun hung low, bathing everything in gold. She glanced at me. You've been quieter lately? Nothing to say? You always have something to say. Not anymore. Not about them. She slowed her pace. So you've let it go? I think so. What? Her hand brushed mine. Do you regret any of it? No. She tilted her head. None of it. Without it, I wouldn't have this house, This company. You. It's a heavy price to pay for all this. I paid it, I said, and I survived. We stopped near the fountain, the water trickling softly. I used to think revenge would feel like fire, I said, burning through everything, and now it's not fire. It's silence. She smiled faintly. Silence can be peace, or loneliness. For me, it's peace. She studied me. So you don't wish they'd suffer more? No, that's not the point anymore. Then what was the point? I looked at her, proving to myself I could rise without them, so that I didn't need their approval or their apology. She nodded slowly. And now you believe that? I know it. We walked again, our steps matching. The breeze carried the scent of jasmine. You think she ever loved you? Sophia asked. Maybe. Or maybe she just loved what I could give her at the time. And does that bother you? No, that version of me is gone. So is that version. Of her? Sophia looked up at the sky, the light fading to blue. Most people can't reach this point. I wasn't most people, I said. She gave a small laugh. You still aren't. By the time we reached the terrace, the first stars had appeared. Ethan, she said softly, what happens now? I live. Is that simple? That's simple. She squeezed my hand. I'm glad I met you when I did. Me too, I said. You showed me there's more than just winning. Was that all you were doing? Winning for a while? Yes. But now I'm just being... The night air was cool against my face. Somewhere in the distance, a bird called. I don't think about her anymore, I said suddenly. Sophia's voice was gentle. You just did. For the last time, I said. She smiled, then let her go. I already have. We stood there in silence, the garden around us settling into night. For the first time, I felt no weight at all.